our mission partner, Bakau Methodist Church, the Gambia, West Africa. Jesus said, "What is God's kingdom like? What story can I use to explain it?" It is like what happens when a mustard seed is planted in the ground. It is the smallest seed in all the world. But once it is planted, it grows larger than any garden plant. It even puts out branches that are big enough for birds to nest in its shade. This is a map of the world. The continent of North America, where we live, is on the left. Across the Atlantic Ocean is the continent of Africa. The arrow is pointing to the country called the Gambia. As the mustard seed is the smallest of all the seeds in the world, the Gambia is the smallest of all the countries in mainland Africa. It is called the Gambia after the river which it surrounds. Here is the Atlantic Ocean at the mouth of the Gambia River. 250 years ago, a young man named Kunta Kinte lived in a village up the Gambia River. One day in 1767, when he left his village to search for wood to make a drum, 4 men surrounded him and took him captive. He and others were put on a slave ship for the dreadful 3-month voyage to America, where he was sold into slavery. His story is told in the book and TV series called Roots. Every other year, the capital city of Banjul hosts the Gambia International Roots Festival that remembers the forced enslavement and shipment of millions of Africans to the Americas and the Caribbean region. The Gambia has beautiful beaches where tourists come on vacation from countries in Northern Europe like Sweden to enjoy warm weather and sunshine. A main crop grown in the Gambia is what they call groundnuts, that we would call peanuts. And another way people make a living is by fishing. There are lots of fish in the ocean, and some of them are very big. The motto of the Gambia is progress, peace, prosperity. The country is peaceful, and there is progress and prosperity, although some people are quite poor. Some of the roads are dirt, not paved, and especially in the country, many homes do not have electricity or running water. They pump water from wells, and children walk a long way to get to school. When you visit the Gambia, you will see things that look like Dayton, cell phones and cars on busy streets. But you will also see much that is very different. Women carrying baskets on their heads and babies on their backs, goats on the sidewalk, and donkeys on the road. Most of the people in the Gambia are Muslim and worship God in buildings called mosques, with tall towers called minarets. Early every morning, you can hear the chanting from the minarets that calls Muslim people to prayer. There are also Christians in the Gambia. This is Bakau Methodist Church by the seaside town of Bakau. It is a very welcoming and lively church. And this is Pastor Benjamin Michael coming out to greet us in our van. Pastor Michael is the Sunday school superintendent of Bakau Methodist Church and a leader of the network of biblical storytellers in the Gambia. And here are more members of Bakau Methodist Church, with some of us who went to the Gambia to teach about biblical storytelling. Many people in the Gambia are very good storytellers, and those who learn biblical stories tell them with excellence. At Bakau Methodist Church, Pastor Michael meets with children, youth, and adults every Friday to learn stories they tell in worship, just like we do at Grace. This is Pastor Michael with his wife Patricia and their little son David. This family was in a workshop I led on biblical storytelling with children. I taught them the story of blind Bartimaeus and different ways to help children learn and tell the stories. They were most appreciative and learned some new things, but they are already doing a very good job teaching biblical storytelling, as we found out when children and youth from their church told stories. During the workshop, Mrs. Michael told me how they plan to create new space for Sunday school at Bakau Methodist Church. So when I came home, I had the idea of forming a mission partnership between Bakau Methodist Church in Bakau, Gambia, and Grace United Methodist Church in Dayton, USA. I thought we could use our weekly offerings in children's worship for this purpose, and also send them pictures and messages. So I emailed to ask what they might need. Here's what Pastor Michael wrote. The number on roll in our Sunday school is presently 31, but we have about 20 pupils in regular attendance, and their age ranges between 4 and 16 years. As of now, we conduct one class session for all pupils because of lack of space. However, we hope to solve this problem and divide up the class when we move into our new hall, which will soon be completed. The children are very excited and long to move into the new building as soon as possible. But the new hall will require furniture, public address system, flannel board, stationaries, and lots of other relevant learning and games materials. We would need donations towards procuring these items. We are thanking you and your children in advance for any donations you may have for our use. And Pastor Michael went on to say, at the Sunday school yesterday, I shared the contents of your email with the children, and they were overjoyed. We pledge to partner with your Sunday school to put your Sunday school children on our regular prayer list and to share information with you. Our partnership with Bakau Methodist Church can enable the seed of the stories of God to grow in our hearts and theirs. It is like what happens when a mustard seed is planted in the ground. It is the smallest seed in all the world, but once it is planted, it grows larger than any garden plant. It even puts out branches that are big enough for birds to nest in its shade.